Just a couple of minutes before noon. Good afternoon or good morning. We'll keep it the way it should be. Everybody, Ron Nicoletti, along with Ashley Mayu. We got light showers in the area right now. The main track is fast. Turf course is listed as firm. And as you saw in a picture, the Tapeta just keeps getting better and better. It's almost ready to be raced on.
Yeah, we're getting closer and closer to the first races on the Tapeta. I know recently we announced there's going to be some stakes races over the surface as well. I read an article by the Florida HBPA kind of denoting all the stakes that will be on there. So I think that's exciting and something for the horsemen to look forward to.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting fall campaign here with no turf racing as we redo the turf course for the championship meet. So, I like it because I'm going to have to learn to re-handicap. I know you're an expert at it, so I'm going to have to lean on her. She loves those races up in Canada.
Expert may be a big statement there. I don't know if I would call myself that. But no, Tapeta, I think it's going to be interesting for handicappers in general just to get a feel for it. And I think the horses, too, a lot of these horses that may race on the Tapeta, we may have horses come in, but just the local horses, it's going to take some getting used to. And I think that might make for some prices, or at least I hope so. I have my eyes on the money, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm already doing some checking around to see how these horses run. I've been paying extra attention to our folks across the border. With that said, we got turf racing here to start the day. About 7.5 furlongs on the turf, maiden claiming fillies. 2-year-olds, 35,000. 8-race card on Thursday, so you got your early pick 5.
Yeah, looking kind of the sequence here in terms of my ticket, I actually went 3 deep in the opener. I'll use the number 1 Barbara, who I think I've used in both the starts so far, as well as the 8 Flourishing for Mark Cassie and the 9 Straight to Go. Race 2, just 2 runners in here. I'll use the morning line favorite, the number 4, Vancouver de Oro. Now, I believe I made these picks a while back. I believe this isn't my top pick. I went with my price in here. It's my long shot on the card, the number 7, Power G, a second-time starter for Antonio Sano. Race 3, just 2 deep in here. I was between the Black Jet, the number 3, and the 4, Marcelino. I think look at the morning line there. I'm not sure they will go off at those prices. I really hope so. I'm at least hoping so. Race 4, 2 deep in here. 6.5 furlong, $16,000 maiden claimers, 2-year-old fillies. I'll use the 2 Island Winter, as well as the number 6 Splicer. First off the claim for who? Gilberto Zerpa. And then to wrap it up, 3 deep in race 5. I'll go to the 2, 4, and the 5. Kamarj Taj and Nacho Mama I have some interest in, but Safi Joseph Jr. sends out the number 2. I couldn't leave him off my ticket, so $36 for my selections.
Laurie Lupes, and don't forget the Rainbow Six will be starting in race number 3. So we got overlapping, pick 4, pick 5, and of course early pick 5, pick 4, and the Rainbow Six. This race here, I did go with the number 9 Straight to Go. Is turning back slightly after showing their fondness for route racing on the turf. When she rallied 4 wide, she finished 3rd against Similar. That was going a mile that afternoon for Laura Cesares, and you got Miguel Vasquez, who just had a great weekend.
He had a huge weekend here at Gulfstream Park, and right now he's winning about 15% at the meet. Now, the interesting thing here to note, too, and look at this horse you mentioned, turf last time out was the first turf start. It was an improvement. Highest career buyer speed figure, closed late to finish 3rd, beaten by 3 1/4. It was actually a step up in class as well. Not only the surface change was in for the $16,000 tag a couple of times and $25,000. So I think it's been interesting. Maybe she's finding her calling now on the turf.
Yeah, I can understand having the number 1 Barber on top of the ticket who's dropping to the 35 level. A pair of useful outings going to 7.5 furlong distance. That was against special weight competition.
Yeah, this is a drop in class for her. That's why I'm going to give her, I guess, maybe 1 more chance. Probably 2 if she doesn't graduate today. Has a bullet drill coming in here, which actually over the soft going at Palm Meadows. But you look at it. You mentioned she's taking a drop in class. I was a little disappointed last time out because I thought on debut it wasn't a perfect trip for her, and she still finished kind of mid-pack in there, beaten by 3 1/2, and there was an upset winner in the race. So I thought she was going to perform better last time out, but maybe it's just the class relief today that she's looking for.
Well, you got the number 8 Flourishing a little higher rated than I do this afternoon. This one from the Mark Cassie barn.
Mark Cassie on the surface switch. I know it's a California Chrome, so you have to think what you're thinking of there, but this was a $50,000 maiden claiming debut from her last time out, going 6.5 on the dirt. She didn't show anything. She was only beaten by 1 in there. It says no factor. The runner-up came back to win next time out, but overall, it's kind of a lackluster event. I will say she's breezed, and they actually took her back up to the Cassie Training Center, and they've decided to make the surface switch. And then Edward Gonzalez. I know maybe they haven't teamed up like they were before his injury, but he's ridden a couple for him. They're still 45% here at Gulfstream Park.
Yeah, Edmund getting back into shape after being off for a couple of months. The number 5, Yes, I'm Spiteful, exits the same race as Straight to Go and actually figures on the ticket in my mind for the same reasons as the horse I have on top for Joe Catanese, Jonathan Gonzalez in the saddle. And Joe has not won a lot of races, but boy, his horses have been running well at huge prices.
Yeah, and you're always looking for value, so I kind of see the angle you're taking
Right.
here. In terms of his races, or I should say her races, at least last time out, I think it was an improvement from 2 starts back. She didn't really show much when she went 3/4 here in early August, and she's another one, just second-time turf.
Race number 2, not number 2. Race number 2 is a mile maiden claimant for 2-year-olds, $25,000. Did have a scratch in here of the number 5 corporate affair. Lino Race is going to ride the 6-horse. Looks like Diego Gomez not going to ride that particular race. I did go. You went with the number 7. Here's your long. I want to hear about Power G.
Well, Antonio Sano, I feel like he's been on a good roll the last couple weeks here and weekends at Gulfstream Park. This one's actually going to get blinkers off. Didn't really show much in the debut. Now, that was maiden special weight competition. This is a pretty big drop, would say now, dropping in for $25,000. And also is changing from the turf to the dirt. This is the son of Bernardini. So I like the surface switch. I think he's been breezing okay in preparation for the second career start. I've liked both of the last works. And I know the barn, if you look at maiden special weight to maiden claiming, surprisingly 0 for 13, but at least with maiden second time out 14%. So I'm going for a price here. Just think there's a lot of changes here as well as the drop in class.
Well, I went with the horse you have a little further down. That's the number 2. He's so subtle. This one listed as a gelding today. It's a son of keen eyes. Moves to a 1-turn mile on the dirt. Had some early trouble in its last race when facing 35 maidens going 7.5 furlongs on the turf. Armando de la Cerda. You get Edgar Zayas handling the surface change.
And we'll show a trainer stat here for this runner. You mentioned Armando de la Cerda being the conditioner of this runner, and Edgar Zayas in the irons. I just want to look at maiden second time out the past year. Pretty nice stat here. 4 for 15, 27%, 47% in the money with a $6.21 ROI. So a lot of value there. You mentioned this one last time out on the turf, switching to the dirt and taking a slight drop in class. Another one with a lot of changes, but the connections, 2 to actually really look for in this spot.
The number 4, Vancouver Dioro, you used right on your ticket too, finds an ideal spot, I think, to step up the competition after breaking from the rail, finishing second in his 12-5 debut, going 5.5 furlongs. I think he gets a little bit of a class test here at the distance with Chantal in the saddle.
It's going to be a class test for sure. He's stepping up in competition today, and he's also stretching out, and I think he kind of had a duel for second place last time out. It wasn't necessarily a clear-cut second place finish for him. They're going to take a test here. He's 7-5 on the morning line. I think we both made decisions to go in other directions. I think that's a bit of a short price on him, but when you look at other horses here and what they've done on the dirt, he's the horse that stands out from that dirt race.
I don't know why I like the name of the one horse in here, Clown Shoe. So I wrote in my analysis hoping to stomp the competition. At first asking with Luca Panici and trainer Joe Orsino, son of First Dude, working okay for the debut, but Clown Shoe, all I do is picture that big old Clown Shoe.
This is a name play, I think. This is a name play strictly for Ron
Right.
Nicoletti. But you mentioned the workouts. Actually, the last workout on September 5th was a little slow to my liking, but the other works were fine. Looking at the barn, Joe Orsino, he's still had a pretty good meet so far. So I guess if you like names and you like the connections, there you go, Clown Shoe.
Well, we're going to dance out of here. We'll be back for race 3 and the Rainbow 6 in just a moment.
And they're off. Second in the 2-path. Ground on first inside. Race. A quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 yards out. It's last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.
Welcome back for race number 3. 5 furlongs on the turf. Claimers 3 and up. $12,500. Starts our Rainbow 6 this afternoon. And let's check out my $48.60 ticket. Got a $100,000 guarantee. Actually got the last 2 Rainbow 6s on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Had some help with the rain on Sunday. Got all in the last race. It started to pour. So $48.60 here. And I went 3 deep. Got lots of coverage. I got a single in race number 7 here. And sort of, if you're Italian, you sort of got to single this horse. That's Mr. Luigi. I just think that, it's a good horse here. But here I went with Marcelino, Longblade, and Earth. And Longblade still trying to beat Frenchman Street. It hasn't happened. Three deep in race number 4 with Splicer, Island Winter. I think you used similar horses already. I love Camartage today. That was almost going to be my single. But being I had that other single, I used Nacho Mama and Lori Lupi's, the horse you used. Race number 6, 3 deep again with Rayo Colorado, Go Christian, and More Adventurous. And as that single, Mr. Luigi's back home. Ran a good race, I thought, up at Saratoga. Tried the Grade 3 Amsterdam. Way too tough for this horse. I think this is a good spot. And as you mentioned a couple of moments ago, Antonio Sandoval been going really good. And then I got some coverage in race number 8. I got a little bit of interest in Some Return. 5 horse, a little bit of a price to Sappy Joseph. You look at the last race, doesn't look that good, but I think this horse is in a good spot to rebound.
Yeah, looking at the sequence, I think race 5, in terms of my early pick 5, we had the same idea. We both really like Camarge Taj, but when you look at the Carlos David runner and the Sappy Joseph Jr., you know that either of them, if they're just slightly better, they can kind of make the upset in there. So I went with those 3. You mentioned your single, who is a talented horse, also sounds like a little bit of a name play as well, but I think Mr. Luigi does look tough in race 7, and I like that this ticket, by having that single, you do have this coverage in those other 5 legs.
Yeah, 48.60 for me. Getting back to this third race, as I mentioned, 5 on the grass. Claim is 3 and up, 12-5. Number 4, Marcelino, goes to the Amador Sanchez barn after the Claim rallied to finish third behind that repeat winner called Frenchman Street at this level and distance during May.
I love this horse. I really like him in this spot, and I think when you look at that most recent performance, I know it was back in May. It was at the level, though, closed nicely, was only beaten by a length and a half in there with a 70 buyer speed figure. But this horse has won all of his local races on the grass here. He's 11 for 17 in the money over the turf course. And, this is the other thing I want to point out here, the new conditioner, Amador Sanchez. They do have a trainer stat here to show in race number 3, kind of looking more at the barn in terms of figures, and just looking at first off the Claim the last 2 years. Strong angle, 8 for 32, 25% in terms of wins, 53% of the time in the money, with a $2.58 ROI. So I love this horse today. I think there's a lot of reasons to maybe point to him, and heck, if I got 4 to 1 on the morning line, I'd be really happy with that price.
Well, the common thread in this race is a horse that's not in this race, and that's Frenchman Street. So we're going to go back and show you the performance of Longblade and one horse on that day. One horse today, Earth. And you're going to see the Earth is the number 2 who did the dirty work with setting the pace. And Longblade was Longblade was making that move, but you just couldn't get to Frenchman Street. I thought it was a good performance, but Frenchman Street just too tough. Been on a roll, this horse. And look at this great little finish here. So I thought with that horse running that well behind a horse that's certainly been in good form, I would put Longblade on my ticket. And Earth, set the pace. I think maybe ran a pretty good race, better than it might appear in the stretch.
The thing with Longblade is I think he's got some backlash. You look at him last year, he was 4 for 9, and he faced some tough competition. I know he raced in Monmouth Park a bit up there, and then he came back to Florida in the fall. And he started off with a good race, and then so-so, and his form's been inconsistent. I know they've dropped him down. I just thought last time out, he showed more of his old characteristics. He looked like he had improved, seemed like he was getting on track there. He only missed by a length. You mentioned Frenchman Street's one that we've talked about, Earth, who's actually inherent to his inside. I think he's trending in the right direction. I mean, that was his 3rd start after having some time off, but I like the way that he's going lately, so I used him in here just a little lower than you.
Yeah, they probably had a little party in the backstretch when they didn't see Frenchman Street's name in this race this afternoon. Going to race number 4 this afternoon, kicks off our final pick 5 of the day. It's a 6.5 furlong sprint. These are maiden claiming filly 2-year-olds, $16,000, clear slate, no scratches or jockey changes in here. We'll start with your horse in here, in Island Winter, who's stepping it up a notch, or is it a lateral move today?
I think it's a lateral move. I think when you look at some other horses that have, raced at the $16,000 level or even at 12.5, they're all kind of similar in a lot of ways, except for this one. I think you look at that performance last time out. They debuted her on the turf. She didn't perform too well. She was 7th, beaten by 12.25, but then they put her on the dirt last time out, dropped her down, and it was the 3rd place finish from her. Now, she was a price maybe 31 to 1 there, and she's 5 to 2 on the morning line, but she really stepped it up. I know she hasn't worked since then, but for me, I think this is a lateral move, and I'm excited to see her now even stretching out a bit.
Joined by Joe Orsino, Luca Panici handling the stretch out to 6.5 furlongs. I did go with the horse. We got our exacta flip-flopped here. Splicer goes to the Gilberto Zerpa barn after the Claim. It broke slowly from that tough outside post last time out. That was post 12. Got parked 5 wide and finished 5th. fifth against those maidens, going 5.5 furlongs. You know the barn is excellent with new claims, almost 30%. And good with freshman runners, and you got MSC El Jaramillo in the saddle.
Yeah, actually, I exit that same race as Island Winter. Island Winter was third, but this runner was fifth. Now, big part of that is this horse was off a step slow, as you mentioned, and maybe needed that race under her belt. Now goes to another barn. I don't know in terms of Rohan Crichton's a good, first off the claim. Now goes to Gilberto Zerpa, and I think they're common in a lot of ways like that. But I will say the most recent drill seemed to be a step up, in my opinion. 48 flat, breezing from the gate at Palm Meadows just a few days ago.
Well, what about the number 8, who I have at fourth? You have a third. That is more Mucho. This one, I think, could run well for Bob Smith.
Yeah, and then you look at the runner-up in that race. Delray Dolly came back to graduate next time out. It was a field of 10. This horse is another case that you can maybe make an example of being a step slow. Probably cost her some ground. She still finished third in there, but the top two, won by 3, and then Delray Dolly was 10 clear of this finisher. Sammy Camacho stays aboard. I think this one, in terms of second time out, barring from a limited sample, they're 2 for 10 with a $3.24 ROI. So I'm hoping that this one will break sharper.
Looks like they're trying to find the right level for the number 9, All Right Already, who's plunging to this level on the main track. After following a pair of poor showings, I thought, against Better on the dirt, then comes back. They stalk tires and going a mile on the grass for Fernando Abreu, and you got Chantel handling. So it's a drop down. It's a surface, which, like I say, it just looks like they're trying to find that optimum level for this horse.
Yeah, they're trying a lot of things. I mean, I'm not sure what to make of this. I think I can make cases for the other horses maybe having some more excuses, and maybe it is just the level of competition that'll help All Right Already get back on track.
Let's go to race number 5 this afternoon. And this one, the 6 furlong allowance optional claim of fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. The optional tag is $25,000. And this is where the late pick 4 kicks off. Let's see your ticket.
Yeah, so for the first leg, obviously, I kind of stayed in sync with the last leg of the early pick 5. I go 3 deep in here. Race 6, this is where I decided to single today. I used the number 6, Rayo Colorado, a second-time starter out of the Jorge Delgado barn. I struggled. I was thinking about Marcelino would maybe be one of my singles in my earlier ticket. And when I looked, I decided late pick 4. This was my best chance, in my opinion, so I singled here. Race 7, I use your favorite in here, your single in the Rainbow 6, the number 3, Mr. Luigi. But I also used the number 4, Star Wancho, for Peter Walder. And then to wrap things up, I spread. I think we have a couple horses. I think you used the 3 and the 8, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
I used the 2 as well, Brody's Causeway, and the number 4, Miss Universe, who's a first-time starter for Tom Proctor, Key Barcoa, and the irons for that one. I thought that was a race you could probably spread, so by having the single, $12 for the late pick 4.
Very, very affordable in here. Now let's go to this fifth race. As I mentioned, this 6 furlong sprint for these 3-year-olds and up with fillies and mare and Kamar Taj. We'll go back and show you a couple of angles with this. So first, we're going to show the head under the start when you can just see here the number 2 horse, Kamar Taj, just stumbles and really gets whacked around there, lunged at the start. And I just wanted to show the pan, but more than that, than showing the start, I wanted to show you this horse just Jock almost came off, but I wanted to show you this horse, running up and getting the lead actually at the top of the stretch. So I just thought, and I thought this is what caused this horse to fade to finish 4th in the stretch. I just want to, show that this horse had no choice but to go up there. And, it's a tough horse on the lead, Shady Summer.
Yeah, and I think when you mentioned she lunged and kind of hopped out of the gate and then had to rush, that's not what she was used to in her other 2 career starts. She was always kind of first or second out of the gate and always forwardly placed. So having kind of that move, I'm sure she might be the type, too. When she breaks out of the gate, that's her move. She goes to the front or wants to be forwardly placed, so they were going to let her do that rather than fight with her and hold her back in there. And she tired in the end to finish 4th. You mentioned Shady Summer. Speed horse got to the front as well and then got kind of lucky. Kamar Taj wanted to put the pressure on, and Shady Summer just kind of the best in that race.
The number 5, Nacho Mama. This one second to Kamar Taj. 2 starts back when he was their rival after uncorking, and really an impressive stretch run when she drew clear to the Vito State bred optional claimers for Carlos David. And you're right, when I love Kamar Taj in there, but I wasn't getting beat by Nacho Mama today.
Yeah, no, I wasn't either, because you mentioned 2 starts back. This one was second. It was over the slop. I think for Kamar Taj, that's speaks well for her because it was her second career start and she won so decisively. But the way that this mare won last time out, she circled most of the field. I mean, she was pretty far back early on in that race, so it was nice to see her close in there and to be able to win by 2 lengths. I just want to make a comment now. We're talking about sloppy tracks. I can see where it's been downgraded already. The main track sealed and sloppy and the turf course good. So I don't know, maybe that's Commercial Day even more with that off track that we have so far.
Yeah, that just came up. So we had a couple of rain showers as we started the show. So they made that adjustment, sealed sloppy on the dirt and good on the turf. Number 2, Lori Lupi's turning back to 3/4 after coming off the bench and setting the pace. Finished 4th. I thought it was a perfect table setter for this horse.
Yeah, I thought it was a good return to the races from her because I know in the musical romance she didn't fare too well. She broke slowly, so last time out she was not slow out of the gate. She got to the front, she just tired, but she didn't tire by much. She was beaten by a length and a quarter. She's going to get Lasix again today, which I wonder if that was anything that was part of the reason for her performance in the musical romance. Now she's second off the layoff. Safi Joseph Jr., 22% with this sort of angle, and it's go-to rider, one of them, Edgar Zayas in the irons.
Well, race number 6, 5 furlongs on the turf, maiden claiming 2-year-olds $25,000, and this is where your single is today. And I sort of agree. I think this horse has got a real big shot, and that's the number 6, Leo Colorado.
Well, they're obviously aiming for the turf last time out. It came off as sloppy. This horse just showed some brief speed out of the gate and just tired and really stopped in there. Was the last place finisher in that race. So really curious to see what he's going to do on the turf today. The barn does quite well with maiden second time out, and we'll show a trainer stat here for Jorge Delgado and just looking at the angles for the barn. Maiden second time out the last 2 years, 27% from a sample size of 22 and 36% in the money with a $2.62 ROI. Hector Barrios aboard last time out, going to do a rider change today to Edgar Zayas, who teams up at 22% with Jorge Delgado. You know me, I'm a numbers girl. I felt like there was a lot of things that pointed to Rio Colorado.
The number 9, Go Christian, is a gelded son of Rainbow Air, debuting for Kelsey Dana. And I think in a good spot for a first-time starter to make a statement. Kelsey's pretty good, 22% with her debut turf runners. Angel Arroyo handling the outside draw this afternoon.
She just does well with first-time starters in general, too, 14%. But you mentioned first turf, 22%. They've worked this horse on the turf. They've worked this horse on the dirt. Go-to rider. I think kind of looking at some of the other horses that had some race day experience in here, I wasn't really impressed with their debuts, so I decided to go with this horse a little further underneath just because the barn is one to watch.
What about the number 8 in here, and it's Regal Holiday?
This is going to get blinkers on. The first 2 starts were over the dirt. I will say I did see an improvement second time out. This horse ended up hitting the board. Took a lot of money in the debut, first off, then dropped down slightly. Probably a lateral move. We always talk about 16,000, 12,500. Not too much difference there, and improved. Finished third, beaten by 5 1/4. It was actually a higher price second time out. Now, I know the barn, the one thing that made me a little reserved is 0 for 26 with first-time turf runners. There's also an equipment change here as well, and I think if you watch the run last time out on August 21st, it was a little bit of a quirky race, but the horse at least stepped up.
Well, I'm more adventurous. I mean, that's the name of the horse, the 3 horse in here, is dropping the notch on the claiming scale after showing some early interest in retreating against those 35 maidens, going a mile on the grass. For David Fawkes, Luca Panici, so you're getting that drop down, turn back in distance today. Maybe that's a key for this horse.
And this is another barn. They've been pretty good the last 2 weekends here. 2-year-olds, 17% with turf sprints, 15%. Hasn't really shown much in most of the career races in terms of a buyer speed figure, though. Stepped up last time out at the $35,000 level. And I would say 35 to 25. This is a drop that we can say it's definitely a drop.
Well, let's go to race number 7, and this one is a 6 furlong allowance optional claimer for state-bred 3-year-olds and up. The optional tag is 12-5, scratch the 7 and the number 8. And Mr. Luigi is on, is back home today after rebounding from a poor showing. It's a tough spot in the Grade 2 Amsterdam. But I want to go back and revisit this horse's last race up at Saratoga. We're going to just show from the 8th pole home. And I just thought Mr. Luigi was pretty game in this race. Just gets collared at the wire and finishes second. The number 3. So the number 6, excuse me. So I thought this was a pretty nice performance. Everybody knows up there they got some tough runners up there at the Saratoga meet and just gets beat at the wire. So I thought of that performance. Antonio Sano, Edgar Zayas handling the whole coming, and that was at 7/8. This is at 3/4.
I think the last performance was huge. You mentioned it was at 7/8, but it's Saratoga. We know the competition's tough, and he just missed by a neck in there. Jose Ortiz was aboard on that occasion. Prior to that, you can say the Amsterdam, it was just a very, it was a deep spot for him to be in. I mean, he was coming out of 2 races in general, one of which was his maiden win and a 4th place finish here, and they put him in a Grade 2. But I like that next time out, he really could hang with the competition in New York. I like him getting back here to Gulfstream Park. And when you look at his one race here at Gulfstream, where he finished 4th Made some nice horses in here. Gatsby, who won here
Yeah.
last weekend, had a really nice performance, scored an upset against tough competition. Flamingo Hawk, one of the Saffie Joseph Jr. barn. I mean, he's been facing tough competition here. So to have that kind of confidence boost in Saratoga, I really like his chances. And he's, for us, both the top horse in here.
Yeah, Gatsby won that stake, I believe, last week.
Yep.
The number 4 Star Wancho is going to try and make it 2 in a row after splashing through the slop to defeat those 16 claimers at the distance. He fits perfectly here, and you see the conditions here right now, sealed sloppy. We don't know what will happen by race number 7, especially if the sun comes
Yeah.
out here in South Florida.
Yeah, looking at that last race, I really liked the performance. He's a bit of a price in that occasion. He certainly stepped up. I felt like in his previous races, especially in April and May, he lacked a finish. He wasn't kind of really closing that much. Several in here were able to beat him repeatedly. Gangly, Vinny Van Gogh. So to see him get that confidence boost in an 85 buyer speed figure last time out, I think that bodes well for him. The only thing I will say is I look at his record and I use him underneath. He's got 6 wins from 45, which is still a nice record, but he's got a lot of second and third place finishes.
Well, the number 9, Vinny Van Gogh, is more popular in the claiming box than hot dogs on 4th of July. This horse, hard-knocking 5-year-old, moves to the Ronnie Spatz barn, rallied to finish second at this level and distance. Level and distance. New connections have Miguel Vasquez atop. This is an 8-time local winner.
8-time local winner is claimed by Ron, was claimed last time out by Ron Spatz, who doesn't do that much claiming here. 0 for 3 in terms of the stat here, but looking at the performances, very consistent runner. Looking at, I think the race 2 back, I kind of keyed in on that one. I know it was a compact field, but this one was swift and got to the front in there, was able to draw clear. And then last time out, they took a different approach. I mean, he's versatile. He can win on the front, he can close from off the pace. And with this race, obviously, his race is being the best on the main track.
Yeah, you make a great point with Ronnie Spatz. Not only that, he doesn't claim that many, at this level. So
Right.
interesting to see how Vinny Van Gogh is going to run. We both used the number 6-1 fast. Chantal in the saddle today. I think this horse maybe can grab a minor share.
Yeah, they've done some interesting things. The last win came well in for the $6,250 tag, took a step up, finished second behind Bailey, a nice little runner, 15-1. Then they put this one in the overnight handicap on August 8th. Was the pace setter. I mean, this horse is going to be part of the speed scenario, so I think this one can hang around for a share.
The final today is about 7.5 furlongs on the turf. If you're just joining us, the turf course listed is good. These are 2-year-old fillies, $35,000. Nice, no scratches, jockey changes, big field of 10 in here. And you did go with the number 2 horse in here, and that's Brody's Causeway.
Yeah, Brody's Causeway, a second-time starter by Brody's Cause for the Mark Casse barn, debuted in for the $35,000 tag. So we're going to stay at the level, but the big thing that's going to be the change, I think, for her, she's going to stretch out from 5 furlongs to 7.5. And she had some trouble in there, had to fan wide, and she still made up some ground. You can see that in the run line. She finished 5th in that 12-horse race. So I like her stretching out in distance today. And then, obviously, just 2-year-olds in the barn. They've done quite well this summer.
Well, the number 5, Some Return, drops to the 35 level. Had some early trouble. If you go back and look at the last race, I didn't show it, but got bumped and bobbled on the first turn. Actually got pushed out wide. Then didn't run a step after that. Finished up the track in her special weight debut at 7.5 furlongs. I love the fact that Edgar Zayas handles the class release for Saffie Joseph Jr. I was looking to get a little bit of a price. I don't know what this one is on the line, 6 or 8 to 1 or something like that. So I just thought off that performance in this barn. I mean, it's not easy to figure out. It's the leading trainer and one of the leading riders. I don't know. We'll find out in a couple of minutes if Edgar is the leading rider. You never know until we show the jocks and stuff on on our next segment on the lightning round. What about the number 8 in here, Dolce? Well, what do you got to say? Did you use some return?
I didn't, but now you have me thinking a little bit about this because you mentioned debuted at the maiden special weight level. We know Saffie, in terms of his 2-year-olds, they might need a starter too. So you already have that going for you, but you have blinkers on when a horse really wasn't involved at some point. So I think the blinkers might sharpen her up a bit in here. Be interesting to see how sharp she is out of the gate and things of that nature. But then the angles. You said maiden second time out for Saffie, 23%. But the bigger one to me is maiden special weight to maiden claiming, 36%. And it's from a large sample size. It's a sample size of 36. So I hope you get 6 to 1 after I just shared all that information.
The number 8, Dulce April, is turning back slight. We're going to go back and show you this horse's turn for home to the wire. I just wanted to show you this horse when she's coming to, she's sort of making a move. She's the number 5 in this race. And just as she turns for home in here, she gets, she just gets bopped off stride, and I just thought that is a critical point to, to have your momentum stopped. So I thought this horse ran okay, was the favorite against similar Wheeler for Antonio with MCL Jaramillo. And you see, I don't know, how much you can judge, how much it really affected her, but it's just at a critical juncture for me.
Yeah, and to me, when I look at that race, she seemed a little tired, too, after that point in the stretch. She really
Yeah.
wasn't. I know it took her memento out of her, but she wasn't able to kind of regain and just keep on moving forward. So she finished fourth in there. The thing I didn't like, she was favored there. Now she's going to stay at the level, still on the turf today, but I don't know. Is she good enough to win here? Maybe, just because looking at some of the other horses, you can kind of pick at their races a little more and critique them more. I used her underneath in here just because I know the connections and know that this is her second time at the level, but I still need to see more from her.
Well, number 3, Paintbrush, is the daughter of Palace Malice, debuting for trainer Bobby DeBona. String of stamina, enhancing workouts shown locally at the barn. Not known for debut turf runners. I think 2 for 8 or something like that. Sammy Camacho, here's a guy I cannot catch. If I pick him, he comes in second. If I don't pick him, he wins.
Maybe have some more support since I picked him as well underneath. The thing that you mentioned about Paintbrush in the barn, I mean, they don't really have too many first-time starters, first-time turf. They don't really debut at the maiden climbing level, so it's intriguing to see this filly in this spot. She's had some nice works under her belt over here on the main track, especially some of them out of the gate. But you brought up Sammy Camacho. The thing that I forgot about is, Bobby DeBona wins at about 22% at the meet, Sammy 15%. But together, they're more of a powerhouse together, 23% from 40 starts. So I liked seeing that, and I liked seeing, Sammy get on the first-time starter.
Well, that is how we see the 8-race card. We're going to switch right over to our lightning round this afternoon. And as we do each and every week when we kick off the week's trainers, we revisit the jocks and trainers. Let's check out the jockeys right now. And it is, MCL's got a one-win lead over Edgar Zayas.
I can never keep track of this either, Ron, because it's a little race. They flip-flop every single week. But the other thing to point out, Miguel, you mentioned, had a big weekend last weekend. He's at 90 wins, and you see Sammy Camacho's in 5th right now. The race is still on for first, but I don't know. I'd be a little nervous if I was Zayas or Aramillo, just seeing that Miguel Vasquez, his business has been quite good the last couple weekends.
Well, Miguel Vasquez last Sunday had a 3-win Sunday. This past Sunday, he had a 4-win Sunday. We're going to show you the last one he got in that race, and it was Julie. Oh, wait, trainers. I forgot the trainers again. Go ahead, guys.
All right, 64 for Safi Joseph Jr. I knew it was in the 60s because I think it was 60 last time we did this.
Right.
Carlos David, 33. Antonio Sano, this kind of proves he's been on a kind of a roll lately, 27. And then Kathleen O'Connell and Victor Barboza Jr. just behind him, just 1 or 2 wins short of being in 3rd place. So Safi still kind of leading here by a lot. Not necessarily double yet, but getting close to that, having a tremendous meeting. He really supports racing down here with having such a big stable.
Yeah, I got to put a string around my finger to remember the trainers. Because it's not as exciting as the jockeys, I have to admit it. Getting back to the jockeys, Miguel Vasquez, I mentioned, 3 wins last Sunday, 4 wins this past Sunday. We're going to show you that last one, and it was in the last race, race 11. This is when the skies opened, and this race was moved to the main track, and Julie Bird wins rather impressively, and he just had a great afternoon.
Julie Bird's one of those horses I've never been able to catch, right? And she's been on the turf, and she's kind of always there, and she's just kind of skipped over the sloppy track. You mentioned this would have been his 4th win on the Sunday program, and that's why he's reeling in those other 2 jocks.
Yeah, and another interesting fact is the Swiss skydiver, the Preakness winner, is going to be sold in the Fasig-Tipton sale in November.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see that kind of stars sale that they have at Fasig-Tipton just outside of Lexington there. A lot of these big race mares, whether they're going to continue to race as a racing prospect and keep them or to make her a brood mare, it'll be interesting to see what the connections do if she does sell at the sale, to be sure, but they've entered her for the sale.
So exciting when she did win the Preakness Stakes that day to be there in person. And we both were there in person, so it was great to see it. And we have our big races up in Maryland on Saturday. Got the DeFrancis Memorial running, and Sheldon Russell, he's Maryland's leading money earner, is sidelined with a foot injury. He'll be back in a little while. I think he's going to get operated or checked on next week or something like that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate in certain timing. Obviously, you don't want it to happen at all, but Laurel just getting up and getting the track running, and then obviously now Sheldon Russell's going to be sidelined, but always fun to watch him. Obviously, he rides some horses for his wife, Brittany Russell, and they both do really well in Maryland, so we'll miss seeing him there, and hopefully he just has a speedy recovery.
Yeah, $500,000 in stakes races. That's Saturday at our sister track, Laurel. And as you mentioned, you got to visit the Red Mile the other day, and that's what Laurel sort of looks like.
It does. It does have that red feel on the dirt, and so far everything about the track at Laurel, everyone's been really happy with it, and the racing's been good, and I know the turf and everything, things are going great at Laurel, so I'm excited to hopefully we'll get there one of these days, right?
Yeah, I hope so. Well, that's we see everything happening here on Thursday. We'll be back in a little while for the first race.
And they're off. Second in the two path. Round off first inside. Race. A quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 yards out. Last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.